Welcome back to another episode of Arachnoiditis Unfiltered. This is episode 3, season 2, and today we have a special guest with us and a special topic specifically that I really wanted to really get in detail with for our community because I think it's really important to talk about intimacy issues, and it's a topic that a lot of people don't want to really talk about because it's sensitive, and we're just going to leave it at that and kind of get into it. But today I have Megan Johnson with us, and she agreed to come on and kind of talk about her issues or her perspective on this. And then we got Steve here also from a male perspective that he can join in also to kind of bring you guys some information, at least from our perspectives, as to what we're dealing with arachnoiditis and intimacy issues.
And
so Megan,
I would say any other chronic disease as well.
Sure.
It probably have the same effect in a marriage and on the intimacy.
Sure. Yeah.
It's not just exclusive to us.
Right. So Megan, if you want to tell us maybe just a little bit about yourself first, like where you're located, when did you get diagnosed with arachnoiditis, just general.
Yeah. So I'm located in Glendale, Arizona. So I'm on the opposite side from where you guys are at. I was first diagnosed on an MRI report back in 2008, but it didn't get brought back up until I had my most recent MRI back in 2023. Yeah, 2023.
Were you in pain that entire time between 2008 and 2023?
So I am not, my case is not, there is no textbook case for arachnoiditis, right? We all know that.
Yeah.
But my medical condition started when I was 9. So I have a spinal tumor that's wrapped around my spinal cord. It's benign. They found it. I used to do dance, soccer, the whole 9 yards. And then all of a sudden I wasn't passing like the state test where you like sit with your feet against the bar and you touch. And I was doing dance, and they were noticing that even though I was doing all these activities, I wasn't as flexible. So I went in, had figured get some PT, didn't get PT, got an MRI. From MRI to surgical suite was like less than 72 hours. And that was when I was 9. So since then, I have had anywhere from 1 to 3 back surgeries per year. So I have scoliosis, I have kyphosis. They cannot fully remove the tumor because I have nerves running through it. I ended up through most of junior high and high school with AFOs. I have a neurogenic bladder, neurogenic bowel. I ended up with AFOs on both my feet at one point. My right foot was way worse than the left. Ended up with decubitus ulcers, was in the wound clinic a lot, and ended up ultimately deciding for myself that I wanted a right amputation below the knee. So I'm also a below knee amputee. That happened right before I graduated high school.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Because I've thought about this as well. People have asked me, because all my pain's in my right foot from my arachnoiditis, L3, 4, 5 level. And I'll go 6 days in just horrific pain going, I just want somebody to amputate. But I'm afraid of phantom pain and having that same pain, because the pain for arachnoiditis is not in the area where you feel it. It's in the back where that signal is screwed up and it's going down to that area. So getting rid of that nerve will not solve you being able to, your mind's going to perceive that phantom.
Unless we have a belly down amputation, right? But nobody wants to do that, right?
Yeah, I don't know that I would want to do that. So I did try doing a nerve burn at one point.
Like
like a nerve ablation.
Okay.
It failed. I just have a dead spot in my back that just hurts all the time.
All right.
So I have friends that have asked me my opinion on nerve ablation, and I was like, I'm probably not the right person to ask because no.
Mm-hmm.
I have tried I was actually one of the first people to try the spinal cord stimulators because my dad worked for St. Jude Medical at the time. And so I was one of the first people to test it, and it failed within 24 hours. They don't, to my knowledge, they have changed. They don't work the same way they used to, but I was one of the first people to try it.
Was it Medtronic or Boston Scientific?
It was made by Medtronic.
Okay.
So,
you look so young now. Like,
I'm only 33.
Okay, you're 33. Okay, yeah, I was gonna say you look so young. Like,
to be that young again.
Yeah. I am 33, and I am a mom to 2. I have a daughter that just turned 9, and I have a son that's 4.5.
Wow. Okay, good spacing. Got the 9-year-old helping.
So hopefully. When you had the amputation, I am assuming it's because of the ulcer. Is that right?
Yeah. So I had MRSA 3 times, but by the time I finally had it amputated, I had 6 bones removed from it, my ankle reconstructed 4 times, and I spent on average at least 1 to 2 days a week in the wound clinic. And I was missing school, missing out on life. And I'm seeing all these people that are amputees being able to live life. Right. And I fought for 3 years with a doctor trying to be like, I want my life back. I was going to high school with an IV pole in my backpack, and my alarm would go off, and I'd have to hang my IV antibiotics, hook it up to my PICC line, and I know how to do it. Yeah. So I was like, I don't want that life anymore. Right. And after it was amputated, I mean, I had back, so it was amputated December of 2010, and then I ended up in the hospital. The next round of back surgeries was March of 2011, and I ended up being in the hospital from March 18th to July 27th. They were just supposed to go in and debulk the tumor, but I ended up with a spinal cord. Basically, they couldn't get the spinal cord leak to stop, so it was constantly leaking fluid. And they're like, oh, it'll go away, it'll go away, it'll go down, it'll go down. At one point, I ended up with the size of like a football on my shoulder of just fluid. And they finally took it seriously when they started pulling blood out of it. So I now actually have a lumbar peritoneal shunt that is in my back. It's normally used for your brain. Mine's being used for constant spinal cord leak.
Yeah.
They've been talking about doing that to me because I have at the base of the spine where the cauda equina is in the sacrum. I've had several leaks, and they just keep thinking that it's the pressure keeps piercing the thecal sac and making that leak. So my next leak is going to result in a VP shunt, not a peritoneal shunt, but yeah.
I will say that I have a friend of mine who also has arachnoiditis. Honestly, just weird coincidence. We met in high school, but she has scoliosis and had infantile scoliosis, but she doesn't have a shunt. And she has much more of the vestibular and the issues with, the pressure, the head pressure, the headaches. I mean, I'll get a spinal cord headache, but not nearly as bad or as frequently as she does. Yeah. And so to my understanding, it just happens to be because I have the shunt that
you're getting better flow. Right.
I get a better flow. Right. It stopped working for a couple of years first, and it got clogged, and they didn't want to mess with it because they're like, if we take it out, you might have another issue. So in 2018, they realized it wasn't working. But then when they went back in 2023, they realized it just randomly started working again. So I was happy about that. Not mad.
Right.
Not mad about it at all.
Think that. Wow, that's amazing. It's amazing. It's like just so much to go through from such a young age. So this type of tumor that you have, it just keeps regrowing?
So it has not grown. The last time it grew was back when I was 19. They went and debulked it, and they haven't had, from MRI reports since, it has not grown back.
So what have the multiple surgeries been every year?
Because I am fused. So I have scoliosis and kyphosis. So I'm fused in the lumbar. And so when you are lifting, twisting, or doing anything, the pressure is going to keep going up. So I've had to do like redo of the like my spinal fusion. So like 2018, I had a revision where they went in, took out all the old hardware, put in all new hardware because the hardware was outdated.
Yeah, I mean, you grow, right? You
Yeah,
outgrow
well,
the
and
heart.
you've grown. The thought process to as far as why this tumor stopped growing was because I, as a person, stopped like growing mostly.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
I got pregnant with my daughter in 2016, and we all kind of held our breath because it's like we don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
It didn't grow when I
Same.
was carrying my
Yeah.
son or my daughter. So twice, no issues.
Yes.
So didn't have any issues as far as that goes. But when pregnancy with my daughter was super easy, no problem. I had back surgery 2018. She was about a year and a half at that point, just to go in, clean out, put in new hardware. And then my husband's in the Army National Guard, so he was on deployment a lot. And his most recent deployment was back in 2022. And all of a sudden, I started noticing tingling in my hands. And up until that point, I'm used to some days my legs work, some days my legs don't.
Yeah.
And it's literally a crapshoot.
Right. No rhyme, no reason. It just, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Some days I haven't had bladder function or bowel function in years that I don't foresee ever coming back.
Have you ever been diagnosed with Cauda-Equina syndrome?
Yes.
Because that's what the loss of bowel and bladder is.
Yep. I was diagnosed with Cauda-Equina back in 2005.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
that one
that
diagnosis has been stuck on there for a hot minute.
Right. As adhesive
it's a shitty combo.
advances, it turns into Cauda-Equina syndrome. So they go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Well, and I thankfully got lucky. So my husband, I met him right before I had my leg amputated. So, like we met in September, it was amputated in December. So, ironically enough, his grandfather used to be one of the best orthopedic surgeons in the Valley, and actually did two of my dad's knee surgeries. We didn't know it when we met, but his family also owns a DME like durable medical equipment company.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So none of the like medical terminology or any of that kind of scared him. He was familiar with it. So I had that in my favor. But as far as like what to expect as far as long term, none of us really knew.
Like
because
I wasn't with the amputation, you mean?
Not necessarily the amputation. Like that was easy. Like that was easy going. They knew exactly. Like I had my leg amputated. I was out of the hospital 3 days later, which is not normal. They're like, normally someone would be in excruciating pain or, to that effect. But I'm like, I hadn't had feeling in my right foot in 7 or 8 years.
Was it mid shaft on the tibia, or was it close to the knee?
Mid shaft. So I actually have more residual limb than they would consider normal, because they were worried that MRSA, because once you get it, you're at a high risk for getting it again. Mm-hmm. Obviously, because I had it multiple times. So they left more residual limb than they normally would, anticipating I would need a revision. Right. I never needed one. Never came back.
That's great.
So when I was in the hospital for that 2011 stint, because up until then I was under contact precaution anytime I was admitted, which meant you had to be fully gowned, fully gloved, the whole nine. And so because I was in the hospital for that long, I reached out to the CDC. I was like, hey, the limb that had MRSA no longer exists. What can I do? And so there's actually a step and a process you can take to have that removed. So I, from that point forward, didn't have to worry about people coming into my hospital room fully gowned, fully gloved. So that for me has been really nice. So,
yeah, that's a whole extra big step that is helpful, right? You can just finally walk into the room and not have to do the whole donning. I got it.
Oh,
you still wear an AFO on the other extremity?
No. So due to all of the issues I had with the AFO on the right foot, I will never put an AFO on my left foot because I don't have feeling in my foot. So so my foot, the ulcers that we would find were always bone deep, right? So you would think that after I had all the bones removed from that portion of my foot, I shouldn't be having ulcers. I still kept getting them. They never could figure it out. I donated my foot to science to see if they could figure out why. They came back inconclusive. And so I was like, I'm not willing to risk because right now I can do a transfer. I can do things like,
Yeah.
it's a lot easier to be a single amputee than a double amputee.
Oh,
Yeah.
So,
right.
and especially since having my son. So due to the arachnoiditis getting way significantly worse, since 2022, that was kind of the beginning of the end for me as far as walking. I still do walking in a zero gravity,
Cool.
I guess you would call it a zero gravity treadmill through physical therapy.
Okay. Yeah.
But all of my exercises, things that I do, are always going to be seated. Starting in 2022, I would go to walk and I was carrying my son, no different than I would have done with my daughter. And my legs would just start having I thought they were spasms. I found out later they're muscle contractures, because you can actually see the muscle contract and almost like turn into a knot.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no rhyme or reason for why they were happening, how often they were happening. I tried adjusting what I was eating. I tried adjusting my meds. I tried adjusting my activity. Didn't matter. And so that's when I was like, okay. So from that point forward, I was like, okay, I'm used to being in a wheelchair. I've been one on and off my whole life. I would rather just be in a wheelchair full time, do my exercises to the best of I can, and be safe, because I'm like, I have two kids that need a mom.
Is it a manual wheelchair, or are you powered up?
No, I'm in a manual chair. As long as I can, I would like to be in a manual chair, because the minute you go to an electric chair, then you're using less muscles, and then it's an automatic. The decline's pretty quick.
It's the same thing with wearing an AFO. I ride my bike. I wear bilateral AFOs, right?
Okay.
Anterior with the side strut. When I walk, I have a posterior strut only on my left foot, not my right foot. So my calves are, I got one this big and I got one this big, right? Because the AFO is doing all the work, right?
Yep,
all the balance. So once you give in, your body gives up. You become so reliant, so dependent, which I hated. But at the same time, and we're going to do an episode on physical aids for people with arachnoiditis or just general disability. Because when I went to my neurologist for the first time, I'm like, man, I get totally blown when I go to the mall with my kids. By the time I get inside from the parking lot, I'm suffering. And he goes, well, walk for me. And I started walking, and my left foot slapped my foot. And he goes, you're compensating, and you're having to lift your leg higher, and you don't have the ability to push off. So this leg's doing all the work. He's like, you're exhausted for a reason. So we switched over to AFOs, game changer. And then from that point, I started embracing all this stuff. But then I started seeing that leg atrophy, and it was kind of a vanity thing more than anything. But now I use forearm crutches, and I have a wheelchair as a backup. And I'm not ashamed. I'm the only guy in Edmond that I know of in forearm crutches. that makes me stand.
Hey, whatever. I mean, everybody's different. That's, what works good for you.
Yeah.
I mean, that's great.
So I have a question about your pain level and what you deal with respect to arachnoiditis. How does it impact your life? We know, but and everybody's different. Tell us, what's your average pain level? What having kids has got to be the toughest thing in the world for a new mother with this disease. We know several. We know how they struggle. So give us a glimpse into Morgan or Megan's life.
So with my daughter, it didn't really impact me, because again, it was my arachnoiditis diagnosis I found by accident on an MRI report from 2008 when I was doing something for a different for a church podcast, actually. And so I'm like, oh, I wish I would have known, because that would have maybe changed how I made some decisions further down the road. But you can't go back and change it. Right. When I found out I was pregnant with my daughter, I was on tramadol and gabapentin and baclofen. And when I found out I was pregnant, I dropped it all cold turkey. And I thankfully didn't have any issues. But I really didn't have to go back on it after I had my daughter. Things were easy. When I got pregnant with my son, that was a little bit of a different story. I had a lot of problems with him. I was really sick when I was pregnant. But my arachnoiditis really kind of took a step, and we'd have no idea we had an MRI done prior to trying to get pregnant with my son, and there was some insurance issues, so it wasn't done where I normally have an MRI done. And they sent a report to my neurosurgeon, said, oh, she's clear, she's good to go. Got pregnant with my son. Got a call about 4 months after I was pregnant. Said, hey, did you get pregnant? I'm like, yeah, I did. Why? He goes, it's a complete whiteout. They didn't do it appropriately. We have no idea what's going on inside your back. I'm like, great. I have no idea if the issues with my legs are getting worse is tied to being pregnant but either way, there was documented change after I had my son. We don't know when it happened. Unfortunately, it's a pretty good chance it was caused by carrying my son, would be my guess.
You didn't have an epidural, did you?
Huh?
Did you have natural childbirth or epidural?
I had C-sections with both my kids.
Oh, and she had an epidural in between there. A few of them, right?
Okay.
No, I didn't. I had to be completely under.
No. I mean, prior to getting pregnant, you had said you had multiple epidurals along the way, right?
I had multiple. I have an epidermal tumor. I had multiple surgeries, but I've never done. I did prior to having my children. I tried. We tried the
ablation.
That failed. We tried the inserting of the new the neuromuscular stem. That didn't work. I tried TENS units. Those didn't work. I tried lidocaine patches. Nothing. From my understanding, it's so deep that it's not going to, a transdermal patch wouldn't work do much. After my most recent set of surgeries in 2023, in the beginning of 2024, it was out like way more than I had ever experienced in the past. And I thought I had already hit my peak point. I was not even close. I maxed out what the pain clinic that I was using at the time, what they felt comfortable writing for. Post-op surgery procedure, we're trying to figure out what we're going to do. We're talking about doing injections, but I don't have the intercostal space to do certain types of injections. And so I actually just recently got transferred to a new pain doctor who actually he came over from Cancer Treatment Centers of America. And so he's used to treating patients with cancer, so he's not unfamiliar. There are days where my pain at a general level sits at like a 6 or a 7. I don't know if you've experienced this or not, but I was on Dilaudid for pain. I'm on diazepam for muscle spasms, and then gabapentin. That's kind of where I'm at right now. And then I was maxing out the Dilaudid dosages for what they felt comfortable for writing. And so I would have to go into the emergency room for breakthrough pain. And then I got labeled as drug seeking. What most doctors don't know is my brother was an addict. And I actually did, unfortunately, lose my brother to addiction. So for me, being called an addict, it's something I've always struggled with, even just in general. Thankfully, I don't seem to have that same trait. I can pick a medication up and put it down and not have an issue. But my current regimen that we have switched to, and I didn't want to do it strictly because of the stigma behind it. I was afraid of what were people going to think. But then I realized no one's going to know unless I tell them. And second of all, do I really care? So instead of having to max out on the Dilaudid, I'm now on a transdermal fentanyl patch. It's like 12 micrograms every 48 hours. And then I take 900 milligrams of gabapentin at night. I take 10 milligrams of diazepam at night and 4 milligrams of Dilaudid at night. I can take the Dilaudid I can take up to 4 to 5 times a day if I need to on top of that.
Through pain. Yeah.
Try not to.
How has your pain improved with that regimen?
Oh my gosh, night and day different. So prior to switching, so I've only been on the fentanyl patches since the beginning of December.
Okay.
Of this last year. He offered them to me in October, but I was like, fentanyl, I don't want the judgment of someone's going to hear fentanyl. And I already fight with doctors when I go into an inpatient anything, whether it's for surgery or something like that. I already get the judgment. I already get the looks. And I'm like, do I really just want one more thing? And I was like, you know what? No one knows. No one's going to care. And I would much rather be able to be present, be active, and be out in my community and be able to be a part of my kids' lives.
Absolutely. 100%.
Whatever
So
it takes.
I went from taking 4 milligrams of Dilaudid every 4 hours to now I can wait and take it just at night just to help, because you don't feel it as much during the day, or I can handle it better during the day. But when you lay down, it's when your body like absorbs all of the things you've done. Yeah. And so it's not uncommon, even with my medications, my muscles will twitch all night long. And so my husband will be laying next to me. He goes, "Are you doing like that on purpose?"
Nope, that's my body.
I was like, nope, sure not. But he was gone. And then for 9 months in Texas. And when he left, I was walking. And then I had to actually send a message through the Red Cross to bring him back, because I found that I had herniated a disc. And that's why I was losing the sensation in my hands. And it was L4, L5.
Wait. Your hands at L4?
Yep.
That should have been cervical.
Or thoracic.
So your lungs are L4, L5. But if it's inflammation, it can cause. So, and for me, it was like the armpits. Like when you go to put on deodorant, I couldn't feel putting on deodorant. Like, that's weird. I've never had any issues. All of my stuff's always been lumbar. So for me to have anything upper was
that seems weird.
A big change. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a doctor, but you know,
if it makes you feel any better, most of the doctors are like, "We don't know." That's the nine times out of 10. So my most recent MRI that I had done in October shows that my arachnoiditis has actually progressed, which we all know it can. And so it now states that I have arachnoiditis with, I'm going to butcher how to say this because I have no idea. It's ossificans, or basically
ossifications.
Basically the adhesions are turning in, they're calcifying.
The bone. Yeah, calcification.
That's only going to worsen things with the other nerves around it, because now you're talking like bone spur type stuff that, you know, will, don't get me started. It's, I mean, we were handed cards with no numbers and no suit and told to go win, right? And here we are trying to do whatever we can, like you said, whatever it takes to get back kind of in that game of life, especially with kids, man. When I first got diagnosed, my kids were very young. They were in elementary school, and I missed out on so many things: Christmas plays, Christmas parties, Valentine. I mean, you know, all the stuff that parents look forward to, all because I wasn't diagnosed. And even if I had been, what could they have done for me except hold your hand out and we'll just spread some pills in it, take them. And if they work, you know what, we'll give you more.
Yep.
Wow. Thank you.
Well, and they hand you this book of like, here's, and if you look up our diagnosis and there's not a lot of information.
There wasn't back then. No.
Right.
And it's just like, figure it out.
Pretty much. You're on your own.
And
I mean,
so I'm going to segue here. Sorry.
Yeah.
Because I had the same, maybe we haven't discussed this yet, but the aspect that nobody talks about that we're going to be talking about is the intimate aspect of this, and how this actually impacts your life, how it impacts your marriage, how it impacts your kids, how it impacts your family around you, how it impacts your friends. It's like this little nuclear device that's just bubbling. And when it was me, I was afraid to talk about it. She was afraid to talk about it. So we didn't talk about it. Guess what happened? I'm divorced. Sorry. I'm not saying it's going to go down that road, but that's my version, right?
Nope. Everyone's got their own version, and it does impact your marriage.
Right.
You know,
it impacts your sex life. That's what I was going to shoot for. I mean,
full disclosure, I didn't know. I knew, you know, I grew up in, you know, purity culture. So like you weren't supposed to have it. Right. I knew nothing about it. I didn't know anything about sex because I knew that I've had a neurogenic bladder since I was 13. So, but nobody discussed with me what else that could mean for me long term.
Right.
Because why would anyone give you a heads up as to what that's going to look like?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why we're here, you know.
No, and it's and they don't talk about it. Doctors don't want to talk to you about it. And again, it's a rare occurrence. It's supposedly a rare occurrence, but the more research I do, I don't think it's as rare as they would like us to believe.
No, I actually have an article coming out on this. It's still under peer review, so it'll be a while, but it's arachnoiditis is not rare, period. So
I don't think it's as rare as they want
us to say. That's all I have to say at this point.
Well,
but
the neurogenic bladder comes primarily from the Cauda-Equina syndrome, unless you have a very low injury with the sacrum with your
like I have empty sac and I have neurogenic bowel,
and
I do have periods where I have a really, really difficult time urinating.
That's
to the point where I have to press on my bladder, and I probably should be self-cathing, but I haven't.
That comes with its own set of
right. I can still get it out. So until I can't, then. But yeah, I probably should.
Anything below the conus medullaris is you're talking about sexual dysfunction. You're talking about bladder and bowel dysfunction, saddle numbness. I mean, all that stuff just plays right into the hand of what's going on below that. And that, I mean, I could handle the pain, but it's when I have to go out and I go, man, you know, my stomach's a little upset. Do I have to wear a diaper? Or, you know, like, oh, wait, I got to run to the bathroom right quick, you know, and then 10 seconds before you hit the toilet, damn it. No.
Yep.
I'm serious.
Oh, that's happened to me.
Yeah. Right.
And then, so I'm going to throw in a new diagnosis that I have, dysautonomia, which is the vagus nerve that controls
I've heard of it.
The breathing, controls your heart rate, blood pressure, digestion. Well, it's totally screwing with my digestion now. So normally when you eat, the brain and the stomach are telling the gut, hey, you need to slow down. We got food coming. It needs to process, and we need to absorb water, the food that's in the colon. Mine gets the opposite. It's like the minute I take a bite, it's like, oh, hey, we got to go to the bathroom right now. It's like, it's kind of like irritable bowel syndrome, but worse, especially with Cauda-Equina syndrome and lack of control. Right? That's about as honest as you're going to get out of me.
Well, I mean, everybody's different, but mine's total opposite. I have to take a lot to go.
Well, you do need to cath in. And the problem with you is that you're going to have retention issues, and that can cause a bladder infection just as much as cathing and not using sterile techniques.
I know, which is what I think I have right now is a bladder infection.
Do your old cranberry juice trick, right?
That doesn't work.
If you have retention, I mean, I've tried. I'm on the D-mannose, vitamin C, cranberry, the whole shebang, but I have chronic UTIs.
Me too.
Where I now have.
I just have to be on the antibiotic, or nothing else is going to help.
I'm pretty much constantly on antibiotics. I actually almost died of sepsis in August from a UTI because they're now bacteria resistant.
The sad thing about most of the antibiotics they put me on is that one of the side effects is diarrhea.
I was saying
okay, is the infection worth, this? Like, sometimes
there have been times where I've been like, is this really worth it? I don't know.
I know, right? Yeah.
I was septic after one of my surgeries, and I literally almost died. But they had me on so many IV antibiotics that I literally will explain it like I was on ketamine. I was tripping because I was having a reaction to the antibiotics. And I'm walking down the hospital with my mom, and my son was probably like 3 at the time. My husband was home with my son, and, my mom was with me in the hospital. And I'm like, Mom, the walls are just melting, like everything. And I'm like, something is not right. Like, and here it was just antibiotics.
Wow.
Yeah. So that can happen, just so everybody knows. But I wanted to bring up one of the points that I'm not going to name the patient that stated this, but she put it pretty clearly to me in regards to what will a male give to have, functioning to their penis. In other words, like when she put it to me, she was talking about a litigation suit and just straight asked her doctor, like, well, what would you give? What would your monetary amount be if you lost function to your area? But, I never really thought of it that way until she put it that boldly for myself, because I don't know what it is with females. Like, I don't know if maybe it was the way I was raised, but I was like, conservative. Like, you're not supposed to really talk about it. And I don't know. I'm just not really open with those type of things anyhow. But yeah, it really made me, huh?
I was going to say the comparative for a male would be castration, where
Sure.
you have no desire, right? It's just like you got all the equipment. I mean, you got the hot rod, but you got no way to make it dry.
Well, I don't know about everybody else, but like specifically for me, I don't have any sensation there. And then on top of it, I swell there because I don't just have arachnoiditis. I also have the piriformis issues and the cojoint nerve roots, and I have crushed nerves. I had labral tears, a bunch of other issues. So when I walk, it's literally a scissor effect. So every time I step, it's like, crushing off my sciatic nerve, and it swells me up in my buttocks and my vaginal area. So that's the truth of it. And it hurts. Like, even though I don't have sensation, how does it hurt? This is one thing I've always been really conflicted with. Like, I don't have sensation for that usage, but it's painful and swollen, and like, it would be nice to have just one or the other, or like sometimes allowing it to work. I don't know. But
the real bad thing about this is the being on the receiving end of arachnoiditis, and it's all about timing with intimacy in arachnoiditis. You have to feel good, you have to be in the mood, and you have to hope that the other person is in the mood and feels good and is ready to go. Because if you don't strike while that spark is flaming, it's not going to happen. And then it's just kind of going through the motions for them, which I've done before. Yep. But it's like,
well, then they feel like, well, you just don't want to, but it doesn't have anything to do with that. You just don't feel good, right? You don't feel good, or
you carry your love deeply. You want to. I mean, hey, but it's this is like
what else is going on, right?
It's a wrench in the works.
Nothing to do with you, right? I mean, I always joke around with my husband. I'm like, well, if you need to get a woman on the side, like, I totally would understand. But
here's he
hasn't left me yet, but
here's a subscription to your favorite website.
Right. Yeah. I mean, hey, I'm open about it because, that is one thing. Like, couples that stay together, they have really good, long-lasting, intimate issues that are healthy.
Well, it comes down to communication too, right? I was afraid to talk about it because I was embarrassed. For me, I felt demasculated.
Sure.
And because there were certain things that my ex-wife did right in front of me, and it made me feel like I'm just incapable. Like when I have my forearm crutches, or when I was walking with a staff, or when I was in my wheelchair, and I can't carry heavy boxes. We're getting stuff down, out of the attic from Christmas, and she's like, "Here, let me get that. Here, let me get that." And I'm like, it takes me down to, I want to be productive. Let me move one box, right? Don't get in my way. Let me do it at my pace. I might not be, the UPS guy, but I'm going to get it there, and I'm going to feel good about it, and I will participate to the level that I'm capable of versus the level you expect me to be capable of.
Right. Yeah, it's taken me and my husband a long time.
Communicating.
Yeah, right. Exactly. That's the point right there. It's taken a long time for us to communicate that back and forth, because I'm going to be honest about it. I have days where I've told Steve, I went outside today and pressure washed my pool area. I'm disabled. That doesn't happen very often. I will admit that, maybe once a year. And I'm telling you, like, I'm out there pressure washing for like an hour or two. I have to take a break, and I probably then crash out for 4 hours because it, killed me. But, my mind was set to get it done, just because I don't want to leave all of the burden, in other words, on my husband. Like, I want to do what I can, and while I still can. In my opinion, it's like, my body is still allowing me to do some things. So I almost feel like I'm being lazy if I don't do those things. Like I've told Steve before, like going to Disney or something, I feel funny having to be in a scooter. But hey, if I don't get in a scooter to go, then I will literally be in bed. And I'm talking about going to Disney like once a year for my son's birthday. I'm not talking about like routinely, but I'll be in bed for a month after from that, a day trying to walk. And I'm talking about when I'd walk around and I'd sit on a bench for, half of the day anyhow. Not like, full walking. But so now I'm just like, I have to be in a scooter. This is really where I am, and I have to accept it for myself. But I remember initially, like, I would get the weirdest looks because I don't, and this is one of the things that got brought up today on the Facebook group, like, well, you look great. Certain pictures. You look good. But
I hate that.
Right. It's like,
the only one that's from that is you sound great. Of course I do.
What does that mean? Right.
Like, what, do you want me to just wallow in it all the time?
Right. Well, that's the other thing that we get people that are like, why are you guys so like positive and happy?
Exactly.
Because I can't choose my physical body, but I can choose my attitude.
Right. Exactly.
I'm not saying that there are days that suck, because there are. There are days where I'm just like, I don't want to deal with this. I don't like this. I'm pissed. Why me? What the heck did I do? And then it's like, okay, my pity party's done. Let's wrap it up and get on to what we need to get done.
Even Christopher Reeves, paralyzed from the neck down, he could smile.
Yep.
He did smile. He made people smile. And look what he had to work with. He had to take a deep breath in and then talk through the, because that's the way he did it.
That's why I always say it can always be worse. Always.
Absolutely.
So we have to make the best of what we do have. And I know this is supposed to be mainly about intimacy, but really, I don't really know what else we would cover in that topic. You got anything else on that, Steve or
Well,
Megan?
I mean, don't be afraid. I mean, here's the sad truth. I'm happy that I got divorced now. When I was going through it, it was really crappy. I was bawling. I was just a bag of tears, but I was also depressed. I just had a heart attack, had a head injury, was dealing with arachnoiditis, and I just quit a shit ton of medications. I had a lot going on inside this body.
Sure. Yeah.
But now that she's gone, I for the longest time I thought, if I could go back, I would say all the things that I wanted to say, but I wrote down in my journal instead.
Yeah.
I would go to her and I would say, I was afraid. And the reason I was afraid is because I knew what I was going to hear and I didn't want to hear that. So I did not breach the subject matter that would have made a difference. But it wasn't a one-way street. It was going both ways.
Oh, right.
She wasn't knocking on my door to have those conversations either. So I think, what I realized is that things had ended a long time ago. She admitted that she didn't want to be roommates, and we had literally turned into roommates. But I don't think that's a bad thing, because I think a lot of marriages end up as roommates eventually. And that's the roommate you're meant to be with because of everything you went through to get to that point. You're not always going to be I'm going to walk around and hold the hand or open the door for you. You know what? Because it's an effort in my walker. Please give me a break. We're 80, 90, whatever the case may be. I'll do my best. I'll definitely get the door as we head up to the restaurant and pull the chair out and do all those gym things. But, sometimes you just have to give in a little bit to make the other person feel like they're worthy of your attention, right? And it's hard to do that in a marriage that's fallen apart. Sure. It really, really is. But you can ask for it. You can go to that person and say, hey, you know what? I don't feel like you're acknowledging me enough. You're not giving me enough attention. I've approached you 3-4 times to have intimate relations. We've not been able to do it for one reason or the other, and you've approached me 0 times by comparison. So that tells me that, the scale is tipped, and we need to balance it out together.
Yeah, I would also recommend therapy. I mean, honestly, me and my husband did therapy at one point.
That's what we're doing currently.
Yeah.
We back and forth therapy multiple times. But it went from, I didn't have feeling to sometimes I do, but most of the time after my last surgery, I had hypersensitivity to my entire back, from my neck all the way down. like just having a shirt on hurt.
Oh, right.
And so how do you explain to somebody that I
To
love
touch me.
you with all
Right.
of my heart? That is not the problem. But you physically touching me hurts.
Mhm.
And watching their face and watching how that feels for them. And then you can probably understand it from the male point of view of, one, I'm a mom. So like I'm constantly dealing with kids and things like that.
Mhm.
And my kids are younger. I mean, my daughter's 9, but my son's still 4. He had his own needs. And I only have so many, some people call it spoons or however you want to word it. I only have so much that can last me and it has to last me an entire day.
Yeah.
And, we're working on it now, but like he got to a point where he's just like, I just don't feel like you want it. I'm like, I legitimately have no desire to have sex. Done. Like, it doesn't cross my mind. It's not that I don't love you. It's not that I don't view you as my best friend. But if I can't feel it, and or I have, my hips are so tight from all of the issues that just the act of having sex sometimes can hurt.
Mhm.
And or I might have feeling 1 minute and we could be in the middle of having sex and it's gone.
Yeah.
And there's nothing. And because he's constantly like, well, what can I do? What can I do to fix it? I'm like, there is nothing.
Mm-mm.
Right. It's not.
There's no magic button. There's no magic wand. There's no magic set of circumstances that if you do it, like you had said earlier, if you could do everything right.
Mhm.
Right.
And like you said, you got to strike while it's hot. And I've always told him, like, if I'm feeling it and I'm feeling okay, my pain's okay, and I feel like I can do it, I will let you know.
Yep.
And he's more than willing to, obviously, but for him, he's like, it's been a while. It's been months, or it's been 2 or 3 months. I'm like, I can't control that. I'm hoping with the patch, that might help as far as pain management, but I'm still not going to have feeling. And it's hard because it's not on my radar because I don't have feeling. So therefore,
right. It's not a beneficial, pleasant thing for you.
I call it starfishing. I will lay here and you can do whatever you need to do. And I've given him permission to go do whatever it is that he needs to do. But he's like, I want that intimacy with you. Mm-hmm. And so we're doing therapy right now. And our therapist is trying to work with him on like, okay, intimacy is more than just the act. It's more than just sex. Intimacy is being honest, open, and raw with your partner and connecting with your partner. And so for me, physical touch, and the sad part was physical touch was a big part. But he said, if even mentioned, we're trying to figure it out now, but he made the comment of, it's hard giving you a hug, or it's hard, like even just holding your hand, because then he's like, I still have those desires. I still have those needs. And I don't want to pressure you, but at the same time, those needs are still there. And I'm like, I've given you permission to take care of it. And he's like, but I don't. He was like, it's not the same. And I'm like,
he wants you to want it, or
correct.
to be the one to initiate it. And I
right.
get it.
At the same time, if you're having a difficult day, maybe it's better to ask versus just to do. Guys are taught to do instead of ask. Like, oh, can I have a kiss? No, we go in for a kiss, right?
Yeah.
And if he wants to hold your hand or give you a hug,
and that's always been like, hold my hand, give me a kiss. Like those things, like let's lay in bed and just watch a movie. Those things don't cause me pain anymore, but the act of sex will.
Yeah.
Right. How often does he actually want to lay in bed and watch?
And well, then I have the neurogenic bladder part of it. In the last 2 times that we have tried, I've gotten a UTI right after. And so now it's like, now to have sex, I have to take a shower with a special type of antibacterial soap. So does he. And then I have to take a post-sex antibiotic in the hopes that it won't cause me to get a UTI.
Yeah.
And then at that point, it feels more like a chore than it does something
spontaneous
that should be enjoyed.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, long gone are the days where you're finishing up a meal, you set the dishes in the sink, and you look at each other, and there's that little twinkle.
Right?
The dishes can wait, and then 20 minutes later, you're walking back in going, damn, that meal was good. But you're not talking about the meal. Those, but those days can still happen with arachnoiditis. But the other person that does not have arachnoiditis needs to know that it could be like Haley's comet coming around. When it comes around, you better be ready to open your eyes and view it.
Right.
And then, because the moment can come and go like a flash.
Well, and then the other thing is it's that resentment that builds up while you're waiting for the comet to come through.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's like, I can't, if I could fix it, don't you think that I would?
Yeah. Well, and your situation is further complicated by kids.
Mm-hmm.
I know how invasive and intrusive, and they don't all go to bed at the right time to where you have that intimacy time. And now you're basically stuck to a time frame where you have to have your body ready to have sex after the kids are asleep, before he goes to sleep, or before you go to sleep.
Well, and he works construction, so he goes to bed when they do.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, my son is up till like midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. He gets up at 5 a.m. I'm like, I don't know why my son doesn't need that much sleep. He's never needed a lot of sleep. But I'm like, so that gives us like what, a 4-hour window, and I'm passed out at
that point. You're asleep.
I am like totally exhausted. So it makes it really challenging. So. But we've talked about doing like a weekend, maybe like a weekend a month, or a weekend every other month, setting some kind of boundary, like where we get away from the kids per se. Mm-hmm. We just have our date night, or go to, have family or somebody watch. Well, my son's 17 now, so technically we don't need that anymore, but you know what I mean.
Hope not.
He gets in some trouble too.
I was like, I don't know, 17.
I was left. My sister and I were talking about this the other day. We were raised in the 60s, right? I was born in 1962, and my mom got divorced when we were 4, and she was relatively young. She was in her 20s still, late 20s by the time we were that age. So she wanted to live it up. She was going to Vegas with dates when I was like 10, 11, and my sister was watching me, who's 4 years older. And then I would be left. My sister would go do something with some of her friends, and I'm 12 years old at home alone, But that's, So
I mean, I think
17's okay, Sarah.
12 years old, I was left alone for a couple of hours. I wasn't left alone like overnight, but I was left alone for a couple of hours.
Oh, yeah. I leave my son alone all the time.
All the time.
Yeah, I'll go to the store or whatever I have to do.
We did a trip to Nashville. It's the first trip we'd gone on since having my son. We did it this past year, so my son was 4. And unfortunately, we couldn't handle it, or we couldn't control it. I had sat on a pool deck, not realizing it, and I ended up with a burn on my ass and didn't know it. Oh. And happened to happen right before we went on our trip. So
that ruined the trip.
Magical, we had 48 hours before we had to go get my daughter from our friend in Nashville that she was staying with, and we had this penthouse suite, you name it, it's and
right.
I'm sitting there having to dress burns, and it's just one of those things where I'm like, I can't, and my husband's like, we can't win, even when we try. So
let me tell you, our 20th anniversary, we went on a cruise just a few months ago, and I got gastroenteritis the entire time. So that did not happen. We planned it all, so we could have time alone or whatever. So I totally understand. It was just and my husband felt the same way. No matter what we do, it just, it is what it is. But I mean,
you know what? It couldn't happen to people as strong as us to deal with it, right? I mean, you put this on anybody else that doesn't have to deal with the stuff that we deal with on a day, and their life is ruined because the flowers are all wrong, or the dress color is just a shade off. You know what? Come on.
True. It definitely makes us stronger. That's for
Absolutely.
sure. And look at life in a total different way. Put things into perspective of what's really important in life.
Well, I think we're more patient as well as a result.
Yeah.
Maybe impatient at times because of the pain, but more patient as a result of going,
I would say if anything, even if I'm in pain, when I'm in pain, I'm more patient. Because I know that my up here, my fuse is going to be shorter, so I'm more intentional with what I say, with how I act, with what I'm doing.
You take the finger off the hair trigger,
Yeah,
because,
it's like, okay, I know I need to take a deep breath, go take a minute.
Well, a lot of times I'll tell my boys, don't even talk to me right now. And I'm dead serious, but they still
yeah.
try to talk to me. And I'm like, I am telling you, I'm literally gonna blow my fuse. Stay away. Like, why are you still trying to talk to me?
Well, and I'm the only one in my family that so both my kids and my husband all have ADHD. I do not. So none of them can finish a task to save their lives. And so it's a constant, like, not only do I have my tasks of like, what do I need to do? But then I have the task of, okay, what were you supposed to do that you didn't finish that I'm having to go through?
Ooh.
And then my husband's gone 1 weekend a month for drill. So I'm constantly making sure he's got everything he needs for drill. And then when he gets home, then it's doing all the laundry and all of it to get it put back to where it needs to go. So that way, when you need it for next month, you have it. And then
I that's one thing I think I would like to interject into this is it is a full time, especially when you're disabled, like it is a full-time job being a mom or stay-at-home mom or wife, like just to do the laundry, the house cleaning, the basic living needs, it is exhausting.
I was the stay-at-home dad for many years, and the one thing that always killed me, I would have dinner prepared, and back then we always ate around the table and we had a conversation. And it was, I forget how old my youngest son was, but we're sitting there eating. He goes, "Dad?" I was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "What do you do all day?"
Yeah, my son said that to me all the time.
And I go, "You know what? Sometimes I survive."
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I came up with the 3 times a day. I said I have good days where I do a lot of stuff. I mow the lawn and, I do this, that, and the other. I have bad days where I can get stuff done, but then I don't get as much done and I need to rest. And then I have survival days. And those are the days when I just want to survive and make it through to the point where I could sleep, wake up, and be in a better, sense of mind and less pain. So that's what I do. That upset me a lot. And I know that a lot of other people hear that when they have a chronic disease that puts them on the sideline, because we look great. We're not emaciated. We're not, crawling on the ground. Just, oh, me. I'm not that kind of person. I'm not dramatic like that. But just because you see me having a conversation like this does not mean I'm not in pain. I've been in pain this whole time, kind of wiggling back and forth, trying to deal with.
I'm sitting on a heating pad.
Okay. Yeah. So you do what you can to do this, because this gives me purpose. It gives me delight. It's one of the better parts of my day and week when we get to do this. And Sarah even mentioned, she's like, "Man, it's been such a long time. I miss having our podcast."
Yeah. So just a nice outlet to talk to everybody and, get everybody. I think just us talking to the community and making these problems known, like, the intimacy thing, and letting people know this is normal. Like, this is normal day stuff for most of us. Everybody's going to have their own individualized issues, but I just think that that's really going to help mentally for a lot of people.
I think it helps normalize it, knowing that, you know what, if I'm the only guy that has this problem, I'll wear that badge with honor. And I didn't create it. I'm just dealing with it. Right. But if there's another guy coming in behind me, this is what I recommend. Reach out, let me know if you want to have a talk, because I'm happy to do it. I'm not going to solve all the world's problems, but I'm happy to interject as an advocate, because I don't want to see marriages fail. I mean, in the statistic that we threw out during that divorce episode, 25% of 75% of all marriages, when a woman gets sick, the man leaves.
Yeah.
Just can't handle it. I mean, men are weak that way, unfortunately.
Well, most men really, truthfully, they want sex every X amount of days, and that's, I'm not going to quote anybody, but it's like if they don't get it so often, then it's almost like their testosterone drops, and then it's almost Yeah, I
So
don't.
that I just heard the same thing so our therapist is like, that's crap.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not a real statistic. It's what, but I think it's what men are taught.
Well,
Right.
it goes back to that whole blue ball theory, right?
Yep.
Oh, if you
Sure.
don't have
Right.
sex, they're going to turn blue because it's not going to get let out. Oh, okay. Yeah, I learned that in sixth grade. By the time I got
You have a shower downstairs, don't you? No, I'm just kidding. Like, whatever. Do your thing. But
That's
sorry.
like, here's some lotion, go have fun.
yeah,
Right. Exactly.
yeah,
Right.
you know what? It's
Do your
But-
thing.
close your eyes and give it mental thought.
Yeah.
Well, and so like something that full transparency, when my husband was at basic training, I went and had a boudoir shoot done. And so that was something for me where I could feel my back starting to change a little bit, but I had no idea it was going to get as bad as it did. Like no clue.
Mhm.
Because again, even though it was on my MRI report in 2008, it wasn't brought up to us until 2022, 2023. So I'm like, there's no way. There's no way I would have known. And so I'm like, here, you have these photos. Go use those. Go use whatever it is that you would like. But like,
Right.
I'm still here. I'm still your person. I'm still going to fight. But it's for me personally, and I don't know if it's just me or if there's others, but because just us living day to day, just doing the normal things that people take for granted, right? Just existing some days is, like you said, just I would need to exist to today to get to tomorrow. That's it.
Yep.
But then hearing people who waste it, in my personal opinion, it is the hardest thing where I'm like, do you have any idea, like
What I would give to have
what
your
I would
life.
give? So
Right. And have
everyone-
your mobility and not have pain. And
well, and
yeah.
my son's going to full day kindergarten next year. And so everyone's like, oh, are you going to go back to school so you can go get a job? And I'm like,
You have no idea what
I was
my
like, well, one, would I love to go back to school and get a job? Yeah. But I'm like, do you understand? So I'm like, yes, I would love to have a job. But anytime I have attempted any trying to work, doesn't matter what type of, it's so unpredictable that there's nothing that I could do. There's no way. And
Yeah.
I will never qualify for short-term or long-term disability with an employer. So if I do try to go back to work and something happens, I have a prior condition. So it's not going to be covered. And then I have to start this whole process. It took me 5 years to get approved for disability.
Well,
and I still have to every year get a letter written to my doctor has to do my Medicare forms and fill out that my leg didn't grow back. I have to write on paperwork that my leg didn't grow back every year. I'm not a salamander.
Exactly.
Really fast, I do want to interject something that I believe, if I'm right, Obama changed that so there's no pre-existing conditions anymore.
For
However,
standard medical care, not for short-term or long-term disability. That does not apply.
I was going to say, however, it doesn't matter. You'd have to then reapply for disability. And it would
so if you do short-term or long-term disability through your employer, you have to have gone 5 years without any form of treatment for it. Which I have to do an MRI for my spine every single year, so I will never even get close to that.
Wow. Wait, so you have to go 5... Wait, say that again?
So if you want to apply, so say you went and got a job for an employer.
Sure.
And
I see what you're saying.
If
you already have arachnoiditis and then you're going to go out for work, you want to use long-term or
if I wanted to go work right now.
Yeah, I get it.
Go find a job and say I found one and I was able to make it work for 2 years, but then my back decided that it was going to pop off like it normally does. Because I was already told by the time that all is said and done, I will end up being fully fused from all the way from sacral all the way up to cervical.
Oh my God.
That's my future. And I'm fused on 3 sides. One of the type of surgeries I have, they don't do anymore because it causes severe problems. So they went in anteriorly on both sides. So I have scars that go like this, and then I have a big scar that goes up and down my back. And they don't do the one.
I get what you're saying. Yeah, with arachnoiditis pre-existing, you'll never get short.
Yeah, you'll never.
You would have to just go back on disability. That's all I was
My
saying.
husband joined the military so I could have insurance.
Yep. Yeah.
Because I was getting ready to turn 20. We were dating. We knew we were going to get married, or we were married at the time, but I was still my dad's insurance, and I was going to turn. We're like, okay, we're bumping up. We're getting ready. We got married young, but still.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess not super young. We were 23 and 24,
26 or
but
something.
still young.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, what are we gonna do about health insurance? Because that for me was a serious concern.
Mhm.
And I'm like, I'm not gonna get approved for, even with Obamacare. I probably like our premiums were gonna be through the roof. My catheters prior to that, my dad let me stay on his insurance, but I paid all of my insurance, like my stuff. So my first prosthetic, there was a cap, and they only covered $5,000 of my first prosthetic. So I paid $10,000 for my first prosthetic. For my catheters to go to the bathroom every month was $250.
Yeah.
And I was making $9 an hour.
Right. How are you supposed to afford that? Like,
and then add in rent and utilities and all of that. So but it was the comment of it's like, oh well, he's gonna go. Your son's gonna be in full day kindergarten, so you can go back to work. And I'm like,
that's my recovery time at that point. Like,
I was like, I do physical therapy 2 to 3 days a week just to try and maintain where I'm at.
Right.
And even then, it's still gonna probably cause a flare up.
Yeah, physical therapy, every time I've done it, I always flare up. And I did internal physical therapy, pelvic floor physical therapy for 3 years straight, to the point where they were putting Botox surgically internally in me, trying to get, because my pelvic floor is contracted, much like you were saying with your legs, but it's in my pelvic floor. So, yeah.
Well, I hate to be the bearer of bad news. We're running. Like I said, this is like, meeting at a wine bar, having a conversation. You can just go on.
We can go on forever.
Oh yeah.
I'm ready to raise my hand to the bartender. Bring another round. Yeah.
Right. I need another
one. I don't have any wine.
Yeah, Megan, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story, being open. I mean, the more open our guests are, the more open we're going to be. We have nothing to hide. I mean, we want.
And you'll have to come back and let us know how your therapy goes as it advances, and give us some tips and tricks. Maybe.
Always. I have no problem with that. I've always been an open book.
Good. Yeah, I love to hear that, because so many people are like, I don't want to talk about it. It's embarrassing. You know what? It is embarrassing because you make it embarrassing by doing this,
Like I said, my friend got diagnosed with it after I did. And so she calls me for questions, and her husband looked at me, he goes, I think the look of me in the chair terrifies her husband. I looked at him, I'm like, the fact that terrifies you means you need to work on yourself.
Yeah. Right.
Absolutely. I said, because she can't change it, but you can prepare yourself mentally. If you know that that's where she might end up, then start working it through in your head. Go to therapy, do what you need to do. I said, but if you want to stick it out and you want to be her spouse, then you need to be a support. So, I mean, I'm here all day long and twice on Thursdays, but it's also your responsibility too.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Good for you. Good for you.
But that's all we can do. Help the next people come and then behind us.
Many more learn from us. We'll see you on episode 4 coming up.
Yeah. Already. Bye, everyone.